Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya God Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitya God Hari Bol. Welcome. You all know each other?
Yes, Maharaj.
You don't need to introduce everybody. I'm just asking, does everybody know everybody? Is this on? Hare Krishna. Yes, it's on. Okay. This evening, we'll be discussing a very interesting verse from Canto 10, Chapter 8, Srimad Bhagavatam, a very celebrated pastime. Where Mother Jasoda is going to be looking inside Krishna's mouth, and you know what she sees, right? She sees the whole universe inside Krishna's mouth. Now that's not possible, right? Because the whole universe is big. And how can the whole universe be inside Krishna's mouth? It's a mistake. Not possible. And she gets very bewildered. We've been hearing all of the things leading up to this. Krishna has, in the early parts of this chapter, chapter 8 of Canto 10, the name-giving ceremony of Krishna was performed. And after the name-giving ceremony, the Nanda Maharaj with Krishna and Balaram went back, because this was done in Mathura. They went back to Vrindavan and had a big festival. And after a big festival, because Krishna's just a little baby still, his baby pastimes are described without going into detail. And then after learning to crawl, he learns to walk. And after he learns to walk, he learns to delight everybody as he moves about Vrindavan because he's so charming, so sweet, so beautiful. Specifically, it says the elder cowherd men would just be stunned seeing the beauty and charm of Krishna. And they felt more affection for Krishna than they felt for their own sons, which doesn't happen materially, but it happens with Krishna. And then, so it moves from that to the gopis and Krishna's pastimes of stealing butter. His Makanchur pastimes are detailed. And then the elder gopis come to complain to Mother Jasoda about Krishna stealing, and Krishna's right there hearing them complain, but they're just, it's a loving complaint, it's not the other kind. And Krishna's fearful, his eyes are moving here and there, not knowing if he's going to be punished. And Mother Jasoda just smiles and embraces Krishna. Why do you do things like this? The commentary says that Krishna wanted to be reprimanded. Now, most children don't want that, but it was part of the exchange of affection, not like a hurtful reprimand, but a loving reprimand. He wanted. It's something like with Krishna and the gopis. There's the left wing and the right wing gopis. You're familiar with that? Yes? Yes, no. Yes? Yes, okay. So he likes, when the gopis say, rough things to him. And he said, not that he doesn't like the other, but he likes especially, because there's an intimacy of love involved in those things, not when people get in a quarrel and yell at each other and say mean things to each other, not like that, but out of love. He especially likes with his mother that there's sometimes just the pat of affection, and sometimes there's the scolding, as goes on in worldly exchanges, but this is another worldly exchange. So she didn't. So he did something so that she would. And he ate dirt. So he's still a little boy, practically just past the toddler age, very, very young. And there's a report that comes to Mother Jasoda that Krishna ate dirt. And so she confronts him. Don't say that these are your enemies, they're your friends. And especially your elder brother Balaram, he wouldn't tell a lie. Krishna said they're lying. And if you want to find out the truth, look inside my mouth. Now, again, commentary speaks about Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti. That is, whatever he wants, it happens without his having to do anything. When Mother Yasoda wanted to bind Krishna, it was his Satya Sankalpa Shakti. She couldn't bind him, no matter what. Defying all reason and logic, she couldn't bind him. She couldn't bind him. But when he withdrew that potency and exhibited his Kripa Shakti, she could bind him. So his potencies are doing everything, and specifically the verse says, and the Acharyas explained it so beautifully, that he has so many potencies that are just waiting for an opportunity to do some service. He doesn't have to say anything. They understand his intention, and they do. So what he wanted was to assist Mother Jasoda in her parental affection by experiencing a secondary rasa of astonishment. This is a little science of rasa class segment of our class. But it's nice to know, and it's described by our acharyas in the following. There's 5 primary rasas, any kind of relationships, but in relation to Krishna, in relation to the personality of Godhead, 5 primary, and then there's subdivisions of those. So neutrality, or awe and veneration, like in Vaikuntha. The opulence of Narayan is overwhelming. Awe and veneration. When that moves to another, not only God is all opulent and all powerful and almighty, let me serve him. That moves into another rasa of servitorship, dasya rasa. And when that servitorship becomes more intimate, it becomes friendship. An example that is easy to understand, supposing there's somebody that's a servant in the home, and after some time they become like a family member. Or somebody's the chauffeur of a VIP, and in course of time the chauffeur becomes like a family member. He knows everything about the family, the family knows everything about him. He's part of the family. He's not a member of the family, but he's like, so there's a friendship that grows from service, an intimacy of friendship. And then as that friendship grows further, then there may be a feeling that I have to take care of this other person, my friend, like the elder brother to a younger brother kind of thing, or the parent to a child kind of thing. So it's parental affection, vatsalya. So let's go through, there's one remaining, but by names: Shanta, neutrality; Dasya, servitorship; Sakya, friendship, like Arjuna, Krishna's friend; Vatsalya, like the elders of Vraja; and then conjugal love, so the queens of Dwaraka or the gopis of Vrindavan; and then subcategories, so many divisions of those, primary. Mother Jasoda had a primary relationship with Krishna of parent, Vatsalya rasa. So Krishna had a thought or desire, Icha Shakti, a desire to have her experience astonishment. So then this pastime was when he opened his mouth, she looked inside his mouth and became astonished. And it was just a manifestation of one of his unlimited and inconceivable potencies manifesting what she saw inside his mouth. Not only she saw the whole universe inside his mouth, but she saw herself looking inside Krishna's mouth, inside Krishna's mouth. Which means she saw the whole of Vraja, because it's not just like floating in the sky somewhere. Because so the absolute truth, according to Vedanta, is that which is the source of everything. Vedanta is searching for the absolute truth, and by definition, Vedanta states, the absolute truth is that from which everything comes. So everything is within Krishna. So Krishna was showing that to Mother Jasoda. I'm the absolute truth. Everything is within me. And not only everything is within me, but everything is also outside of me. Like that, interesting verse, a little series of verses, the beginning of chapter 9, Bhagavad Gita. You familiar with chapter 9, those introductory verses? Krishna says, I'm going to describe something to you now, something very confidential. Paramaguyam, most confidential. And so then he describes this. Everything within me and I'm outside of everything. It's double talk. It's like, we're in this room and we're outside the room. And the room is inside us. Come on. But for Krishna, it's not impossible. It's part of his inconceivable potency. So he displays his inconceivable potency to Mother Yashoda for a purpose. He wants to enhance her parental affection, motherly affection, by astonishment affection. It's another rasa. Secondary rasa. I'm going to read now from Canto 10, Chapter 8, I think it's 13. No, it's text 37 through 39. 10:8, 37 through 39. So the last is his mother ordered him to open his mouth. Here's the translation. When Krishna opened his mouth wide by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his mouth all moving and non-moving entities, outer space, and all directions along with mountains, islands, oceans, the surface of the earth, the blowing wind, fire, the moon, and the stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, sky, and creation by transformation of ahankar. She also saw the senses, the mind, sense perception, and the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. She saw the time allotted for the living entities. She saw natural instinct and the reactions of karma, and she saw desires and different varieties of bodies, moving and non-moving. Seeing all these aspects of the cosmic manifestation, along with herself and Vrindavan Dham, she became doubtful and fearful of her son's nature. And the short purport, all the cosmic manifestations, plural, that exist on the gross and subtle elements, as well as the means of their agitation, the three gunas, the living entity, creation, maintenance, annihilation, and everything going on in the external energy of the Lord, all this comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Everything is within the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Everything in the material nature, prakriti, works under his control. Because all these manifestations come from Govinda, they could all be visible within the mouth of Govinda. Quite astonishingly, Mother Yashoda was afraid because of intense maternal affection. She could not believe that within the mouth of her son such things could appear. Yet she saw them, and therefore she was struck with fear and wonder. That's the intention. The rasa, secondary rasa, got stirred by doing what Krishna did. Then comes some further commentary, which is a little technical, but I hope you don't mind. It's like goes through all the what she saw, taking the Sanskrit terms, and I'll expand a little bit on some of them. So, this is the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's one of our acharyas, and he starts off by making reference to chapter 14, which is Brahma's prayers. Brahma Vimohan Lila. Brahma stole the calves and coward boys and put them in a cave. That pastime? Yes? No? You're not sure? Yes, okay. Body language will help me understand if it's... okay. So, although this is chapter 8, Vishwanath is making reference to chapter 14, where Brahma speaks about this pastime, where she saw the universe not within Krishna's mouth, but within his belly, just like Garbhodakshai Vishnu, one of Krishna's expansions, holds the sum total living entities within his abdomen. During cosmic annihilation, all of that is wound within the body of Mahavishnu. So Brahma said that she saw within his abdomen or belly. Then it goes through the terms what she saw. She saw moving and non-moving beings. These two terms are Jagat. Usually we hear Jagat having to do with the universe. Jagat. But here it's the moving, and stashnu means not moving or immobile. Commonly it's chara and achara, moving and not moving. Here it's jagat and stashnu, all living beings moving and non-moving. The next term is kham, come. Some of you know the Bhagavad Gita verse where Krishna says, chapter 7, there's 8 material, bina prakritir ashtada, 8 separated prakritis. And there's the first 5 are the gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether or sky. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhir evacha. So, ahankara. So those are the 8. So, come, in that case, Bhagavad Gita, it means it's translated as ether or sky. Here, he writes, this come, which is we know as the element of space, means antariksha. Antariksha. So, what if you heard that word antariksha before? I'll explain. In the 5th canto Bhagavatam, there's a description of Vedic cosmology. And one of the parts of Vedic cosmology is describing this earthly plane or Bhumandala. There's a lot to say about this topic, and I'll try to say a little instead of a lot. There's Bhugola and there's Bhumandala. Bhugola means a planet, like, we know what Earth looks like, it's a planet. And there's Bhumandala, which is a flat topography. And there's a way to describe how you transition between this one, that one. But that's another topic. In Bhumandala, there's 7 islands that are circular in shape, like rings, and oceans in between them. We won't go through it, it's very complicated. But in the center island is Jambu Dvipa, and Bharat Varsha is one of 9 Varshas in Jambu Dvipa. Won't go into it, it's very elaborate. And you keep going out and out and out, and then there's this region that's not with planets, and then there's a mountain range called the Loka Mountains. Loka, nice name for mountain range, Loka Mountains. And then in the out beyond that is antariksha. Antariksha. You can't see out there because there's no light. Because the light of the sun is stopped by this Loka mountain range. It's circular mountain range all the way around. And outside of that is antariksha. So that's here. He's saying come means antariksha, which is like outer space. And I'm just explaining things because it's explained in the commentary. If you don't understand these, you can still go back to Godhead. It's quite okay. There's another term in this list of what she saw, and it's coming up shortly. Nabhasvan. Nabha. It's like a navel. Nabha. Right? Nabhasvan is in the word for word, in the BBT word for word, which is Prabhupada's word for word, it's outer space. Anyway, so Vishwanath writes, come means antariksha or bhuvar loka. Bhuvar loka. So everybody here knows the Gayatri mantra that speaks of these three, Om Bhur, Bhuvar Loka, and Svarga Loka. So Bhu Loka, Bhuvar Loka, Svarga Loka. So Bhuvar Loka is above where we are, and it's below where the heavens are. Bhuvar Loka, Bhuvar Loka, Bhuvar and Svarga Loka. It's between earthly realm and the heavenly realm. And what's up there in that Bhuvar Loka region? There's many things, but the Apsaras, the Kinnaras, the Gandharvas, and the Vidyadharas, and those kind of entities, they're not demigods, but they have functions that are very elevated. They have Siddha Loka, they have mystic powers. They're not like earth people, they're not heavenly people either. They're somewhere in the middle, in between range. Rahu is in that region. So, she saw. And then she saw Sadri. Adri means mountain. So, Vishwanath says Sadri refers to the whole earth, along with its mountains, islands, and oceans. So that's all that Prabhupada has put in his word for his translation: mountains, islands, and oceans. Sadri. And Sa Vayu refers to the force moving the planets. Sa Vayu is the force moving the planets. So what is that? What's the force? Vayu means wind. Sa Vayu means the force moving the planets. Here's how it works. You ready for a Vedic cosmology lesson? Where did Dhruva Maharaj go after he ruled on behalf of his father, following his father Uttanapada? He got a residence given to him by Lord Vishnu. What's the name of that residence? Dhruvaloka, the pole star. So question, where's the pole star in this universe? Answer, it's at the topmost region of the heavenly realm, and it's below the next four that are above the heavenly realm. So what's the four that are above the heavenly realm? Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka, or Satyaloka. Those are the four. But below that, Bhuvar and Svargaloka. You're with me, right? We haven't lost anybody yet. Okay. So though those three, Bhuvar, and Svargaloka planets, they move circumambulating Dhruvaloka, because Dhruvaloka is a planet, according to what Vishnu said to Dhruva. This planet is not destroyed at the time of cosmic annihilation. And that's where you're going to go, because he wanted such a planet. So that's where he went. There was a seat waiting for him as soon as he got there to rule Dhruvaloka, presiding king. Now, many of you, is anybody here that does not know about the Temple of Vedic Planetarium? And you'd like me to explain what that is? Temple of Vedic Planetarium is a project, TOVP. Okay, now you know what it is. Okay. It's a project that Prabhupada wished and he entrusted to devotees to make. So it's being made in Mayapur. And what it is, it's a planetarium, is a depiction of cosmology, but it's depiction of Vedic cosmology that's three-dimensional. Not like just photos and drawings and things. It's a three-dimensional model. There's a really tall dome, and somewhere at the very top of the dome is Krishna Loka, and then it goes down. I could show you the video at the end. Does this thing work? Okay. I'll show you a video. It's really short, of the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, the model that's going to turn. So, but what you'll see is from Bhuvar and Svargaloka planets, they move in a clockwise direction, but it's not in a plane, it's a vertical dimension. So down here is the Earth planet, and then the other planets and the other planets, and they're circumambulating, keeping to their right this spiritual planet, Dhruvaloka. It's the planet of Vishnu. It's Vishnu's planet. It's Svetadweep. Svetadweep, what's Svetadweep? Svetadweep is the abode of Kshirodakshay Vishnu in our universe. When this universe is destroyed, that's not destroyed. The next universe is built, it's built around Svetadweep. Because Lord Vishnu presides in the universe. The Kshirodakshay Vishnu resides and presides right there, and as well as within the heart. So, Bhuvar Loka is in that same planetary region and that rotate around Dhruvaloka. And so I'm pausing. There's ropes of air. What's a rope of air? Who ever heard of such a thing? Fifth canto tells us of ropes of air that connect all the planets, those three planetary systems, with Dhruvaloka. And then there's another type of air, that's this one, that blows, and then those ropes of air keep the planets moving in a clockwise direction. That's the Vedic cosmology picture. And to understand it, you have to have higher consciousness. And otherwise, you just have to accept. That's what the Bhagavatam says in Haribol. Because you've never seen ropes of air, and then another type of wind that's moving those ropes of air. So the planets are moving. We've seen, let's say a wire or even a rubber band or something, and, something can move. But this is moving on something you can't see. You can't see air. You can't see ropes of air, but they're there, and wind is moving them, and so they move. For as long as the universe exists, they move by this wind, and she saw it. So that the Sanskrit phrase here is sa vayu, refers to the force moving the planets. Nabhasvan, we already discussed, which in the BBT word for word means outer space. Vishwanath says it means air. Vaikari Kani. Vaikari Kani is another term. That's what she saw. And it's the demigods who are in charge of the senses. So this is described in Canto 3, Chapter 26. It's Sankhya philosophy. If you really like to get into details of how matter fits together with other pieces of matter, the whole puzzle, then you can read 26th chapter, Canto 3. But there's, along with the elements, there's senses and the object of the senses and the demigods controlling the senses and their capacity of the senses to experience objects. So we have eyes, but some people have eyes, but they're blind. You could say maybe it's, the organ is defective, but another more likely possibility is the sense organ isn't driven by the demigod withdraws the power of the sense. There's demigods in charge of the power of the sense. To walk, locomotion, to smell, to taste, to hear. So, supposing somebody's hearing goes bad, so they get a hearing aid. But, at some point they just can't hear. There are people that are deaf. The power, it's not just that the instrument is broken. You can put on another instrument. It doesn't fix it if the power of the sense is withdrawn. So there's demigods, and that's what she saw that too. We touched on this with Brahma's prayers, chapter 14. We're touching on it again. Brahma says, this is in his prayers, chapter 14. I'll spend a little bit of time on this. He says, we, the demigods, the controllers of the senses, are very fortunate because the residents of Vrindavan, they have spiritual bodies, they don't require us. And because they have spiritual bodies, they can directly experience the charms of Krishna's lotus feet. But they've given power to us, the demigods in charge of the senses, that through their senses we can experience the charms of the Krishna's lotus feet. So we're so indebted to the residents of Vrindavan. It's kind of like above us. But this is a description of the Bhagavatam, of how things work in Vrindavan, and now here's things working inside the mouth of Mother Yasoda, how the universe works. Next is, she saw the gunas, guna traya. So she saw the three modes. Anyone seen a three mode of nature? I mean, there's paintings that show, Krishna and the three modes of nature, and they're puppeteers, and there's the person that thinks I'm in charge, the person that thinks he's being in charge by somebody, the worker and the supervisor of the worker. It's just the modes of nature. So she saw the three modes of nature. Then the commentary says, these formless things became possible to see in the form of their presiding deities and in taking gross forms. At the same time, she saw the jiva. Now, what that looked like to see a jiva, it doesn't say. She saw kala. Anyone seen time? I mean, we see the measure of time, but who's seen a time somewhere? But it's a Shakti, Kala Shakti. And Kala Shakti has a personified form. She saw. Kala, which agitates the gunas, Swabhava, the cause of transformation. We're going to hear it described a little differently below, but Swabhava above, Swabhava in Prabhupada's word for word is natural instinct. So we're familiar with the word swabhava from Bhagavad Gita. Here's where we find it in Bhagavad Gita. Brahma karma swabhavajam, Kshatriya karma swabhavajam, Vaishya karma swabhavajam, Shudra karma swabhavajam. Jam means takes birth. And so the swabhava is the nature, or the natural instinct. Or here he's saying it's the cause of transformation. So living entities, every one of us, are carrying a swabhava. We say in simple terms, our psychophysical nature. Psychophysical nature is dictated to us by the body we receive, but the body we receive is resting upon our swabhava. We have a nature, and so we get a body according to our nature. Now, how do you get a nature? Well, you make free will choices, and you got a nature. You do a whole bunch of them, it becomes like a conditioned nature. That's your swabhava. Karma, the cause of birth, and ashaya, impressions in the form of desire. Asha bandha, bondage of desire. Krishna showed the variegated universe which exists, within which exists all the different forms of bodies, linga bedham. In his body, tanau means in his belly. She saw in his belly, through his wide open mouth. She also saw herself, along with her son and husband in Braja, inside Krishna's mouth. By the words of Brahma, that's this, again making reference to chapter 14, it is understood that this vision was of this particular universe. Simultaneously, the universe was inside his belly as well as outside, by the power of inconceivable Yogamaya, showing himself in the universe and pervading the universe. He showed both his limitedness and unlimitedness, like whiplash. Stop, go. The vision of the Lord in the universe and the universe in the Lord, which is meant for reverential devotees, was shown to Yashoda, whose lotus feet are touched by the heads of the Madhurya devotees. It's kind of like, in other words, it's totally against her nature to see something like this, because she's just like sweetness personified, and what seeing universe is all about. It's not her. So, but Krishna wanted, and so she began to worry about her son. She didn't worry about herself, she worried about her son. She's the mother. Jiva Goswami writes, she saw the universe in his stomach, since what he had eaten would be in his stomach. Sridhar Swami says concerning a verse in the next chapter, quote, the universe took shelter of his stomach, unquote. The universe composed of moving and non-moving entities is described. Lightning should also be included, with fire, and the luminaries in the sky. Jiva Goswami also says, Kam refers to Bhuvar Loka. Bhuvar. She even saw sky, or Akash, or Vyat. What to speak of its byproducts, air, fire, water, and earth. This is now Sankhya philosophy, chapter 26 again. The universal form and Sankhya philosophy connect because you can't have a universe without the elements. And the elements are just unfolding nature described in chapter 26. And if you read it carefully, you'll find at the end the universal form arises from the Garbhodak ocean by the combination of all these elements, their presiding deities, and the supersoul enters. Then the whole thing comes. The whole universe rises. The word cha usually means and. It indicates there's other things. False ego, mahatattva, prakriti. Then, she saw what has no form, such as mind, ahankar, prakriti, etc., by seeing their controlling deities, which are considered non-different from the invisible objects. Now, there is a difference between the presiding deity of something and the object they're presiding over. But, the entity that they're presiding over is dependent upon the demigod. That it's the same thing. We can't do anything. We can't walk across the floor without the presiding deity, even if we got legs. If they would withdraw the power to locomotion, you're not going anywhere. Paragraph. When her son opened his mouth, she saw Vraja along with herself and Krishna. Later, Brahma will say, in chapter 14, just as this entire universe, including you, was exhibited within your abdomen, so it is now manifest here, externally, in the same exact form, because that's what he saw in chapter 13. He saw the universe. Well, I'm going to read the verses shortly. How could such things happen unless arranged by your inconceivable energy? Paragraph. By the inconceivable power of the small boy, simultaneously the great form containing the universe and small human form which resides within the universe and which contained the universe within it was shown. She started having various doubts, or she worried about her son. She could see this because he was endowed with extraordinary powers. And just a little bit more, this is Sanatana Goswami commenting. Within the Lord, within his stomach, she saw the universe. Sridhar Swami says concerning a verse in the next chapter, quote, the universe took shelter of his stomach. The universe composed of moving and non-moving entities is described, starting with cum or ether. Air and fire are repeated with the words tejas and nabasvan. There's that word again, air. But as part of the zodiac, the 12 signs, constellations. As part of the zodiac, they refer to the wind that moves the planets. The ropes of air thing, and the wind that moves them. There's a Sanskrit name for the wind that moves them. And there's a name for the ropes of air. So, they refer to the wind that moves the planets and lightning. Kam and Vyat refer to ether, but also refer to planets and space. Water, fire, air, and ether, along with Bhugola, that's the Earth globe, can refer to the presiding deities of these 5 elements. Bhugola also refers to the spherical place. He's just defining the terms. She saw this directly within the stomach of her son, with all details, with her eyes, by the will of the Lord. She had special power in her eyes, according to the previously explained conclusions. She saw this when he opened his mouth. Then she began to wonder various things. I think we would too. Whoa. And last commentaries is Jiva Goswami's Krama Sandarbha. When Krishna opened his mouth wide by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his stomach all moving and non-moving entities, Bhuvarloka in all directions, along with mountains, islands, oceans, surface of the earth, wind, fire, moon, and stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, ether, Ankar, Mahatattva, and Prakriti. She saw the presiding deities of the senses. She also saw the senses, the mind, and the sense objects, and the 3 qualities, goodness, passion, ignorance. She saw the time, the jiva, the tendency to transform, swabhava, karma, and desires, as well as various bodies. When he opened his mouth and she saw herself and her son along with Braja, she became doubtful. Okay, so that's the commentary. I wanted to also read, first explain. Besides, this is detailed and it's astounding. It happens from time to time that Krishna shows such things. And one of the places where Krishna shows such things is described in Canto 2, Chapter 9. And in Canto 2, Chapter 9, it's a description, part of it is a description of creation, but even before creation, Brahma has to become self-realized. He appears on the stem of the lotus flower. He climbs down the stem because he hears splashing below. He reasons, this is where I came from, I'm on this lotus, so I'll climb down the stem. He can't find the end of the stem. He hears tapa. He goes back to the lotus and does his tapa. After a long tapa, something happens. It's darkness in all directions, and suddenly he sees Lord Vishnu in his spiritual abode. So he approaches Lord Vishnu, and this is what he sees. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 16 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character, but he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. And all these numbers we just quickly mentioned, but it's the same things that Yashoda saw. His 6 opulences, those are mentioned. He is served by 4, namely the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and ego. He is served by the 16, namely the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky, 5 perceptive sense organs, ear, eye, nose, tongue, and skin, the 5 working sense organs, hand, leg, stomach, evacuation, outlet, and genitals, and the mind, that's the 16, 5 plus 1. All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. This is the spiritual world. There isn't a universe yet. There's nothing. But he's meeting the Lord in his energies. They have their spiritual counterpart. The insignificant opulences, number 8, that's the Siddhis, are also under his control, but he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. So it goes on describing more of what Brahma saw and how did it happen that he saw those things. That's just one verse. And then I'm going to go to what Canto 10, chapter 14, what Brahma saw. So this is more. It's just to make a little comparison between what Yasoda saw, what Brahma saw in Canto 2, what Brahma saw in Canto 10. This universal form, it's the same entity they saw, but there's a different description and there's similar parts. Just like any one of us could see something, and when we see that something, we might perceive it differently from our, experience and our what's important to us and so forth. Our sense power. We'll see the same thing in a different way. That's just natural. So these are personalities who are being shown the universal form, and it looks different to them, but there's similar parts. So Brahma stole the calves and cowherd boys, put them in a cave, came back to the scene of the crime. There they were, gathered together, having lunch. He thought, what's going on? He went back to the cave. They're in the cave. And he came back, and then he saw this. Well, he saw each one of the calves and cowherd boys simultaneously were manifesting forms of Vishnu. So both. Lots of Vishnus, and lots of cowherd boys and calves, although they were already in the cave. While Brahma looked on, all the calves and the boys tending them immediately appeared to have complexions the color of bluish rain clouds, and to be dressed in yellowish garments. It describes the features of the four-armed forms of Vishnu, each one of them, what they looked like. Every part of their bodies, from their feet to the top of their heads, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulsi leaves, offered by devotees engaged in worshipping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. All beings, both moving and non-moving, from the four-headed Lord Brahma down to the most insignificant living entity, had taken forms and was differently worshipping those Vishnu Murtis according to their respective capacities, with various means of worship, such as dancing and singing. All the Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by the opulences. Here we go. Headed by Anima Siddhi, that's the 8. By the mystic potencies, headed by Aja. By the 24 elements for the creation of the material world, headed by the Mahatattva. Lord Brahma saw Kala, the time factor, Swabhava, one's own nature by association, Samskara, reformation, Kama, desire, Karma, fruitive activity, and the gunas, we know them. Their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, who had all taken forms and were also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. It's a long purport. The Vishnu Murtis all had eternal, unlimited forms full of knowledge and bliss and existing beyond the influence of time. Their great glory was not even to be touched by the Gyanis engaged in the study of the Upanishads, Thus Lord Brahma saw the Supreme Brahman, by whose energy this entire universe, with its moving and non-moving living beings, is manifested. He also saw at the same time all the calves and boys as the Lord's expansions. Then, it's not over yet. By the power of the effulgence of those Vishnu Murtis, Lord Brahma, his 11 senses jolted by astonishment and stunned by transcendental bliss, became silent, just like a child's clay doll in the presence of a village deity. The Supreme Brahman is beyond mental speculation. He is self-manifest, existing in his own... goes on. What is this? Brahma thought. And then he was not even able to see. Lord Krishna, understanding Brahma's position, then at once removed the curtain of his Yogamaya. Lord Brahma's external consciousness then revived, and he stood up, just like a dead man coming back to life. Opening his eyes with great difficulty, he saw the universe, along with himself. Like Mother Yasoda. She saw the universe and herself inside Krishna's mouth. So he's not seeing inside Krishna's mouth, he's just seeing it in front of him, with all of these things that Mother Yasoda saw. Then, looking in all directions, Lord Brahma immediately saw Vrindavan before him, filled with trees, which were the means of livelihood for the inhabitants, and which were equally pleasing in all seasons. So he kind of got overwhelmed. Lord Brahma, he fainted. Circuit overload. Too much. And offered prayers. So now that's Lord Brahma. His response is getting overwhelmed and offering prayers. Mother Yasoda's response we're going to hear, but she's just worried about her son. That's what mothers do. They worry about their children. And that's her eternal rasa with Krishna, his parental affection. But he drew back the curtain to show his divinity and shook the curtain a little bit and then closed the curtain. And she was certainly astonished. And her motherly affection wasn't, it's specifically the prior verses and commentary explain, he was careful to not disturb her parental affection. He did what he did to enhance, not to disturb, but to enhance. And the nature of Krishna is loving, Bhaktavatsala. It's his nature. It's his most outstanding, amongst all of his outstanding qualities, it's the superlative quality of him. So he enjoys giving pleasure to his devotees. That's his enjoyment. And the enjoyment of the devotees is giving pleasure to Krishna. That's the nature of the spiritual world. It's a kind of, Prabhupada calls it a transcendental competition. One is trying to please the other. When you see the other is pleased, one becomes pleased. When the other sees that the other is pleased, they become more pleased. They smile, and they look more beautiful. And it's just a never-ending transcendental competition for who will please the other more. It's a different place than the material world. There's all variety of feeling. It's not at all boring or dull or stagnant. There's no flaw. There's no even trace of material contamination. So, yet there's all emotion. And Krishna is at the center, And the eligibility of these devotees, there's commentary that speaks of what Sukadeva Goswami is narrating all this. When he's an ecstatic devotee, so when he starts narrating about ecstatic devotees, he gets ecstatic. Then he sometimes just gets a little overwhelmed and speaks, how fortunate are these persons? There's a often quoted verse, Krita Punya Punja, the cowherd boys, how many lifetimes of pious activities they have undergone. But it's not just like planting trees and digging wells. It's the piety of transcendental service to come to that position of intimacy with Krishna. They're so very special. And then similar comments about the elders of Braja. To get that position of intimacy of service. Whew. And then to be in the association of others that are like that, pure, unalloyed devotees, and that's all the companionship you have. Phew. How fortunate. I just read something today. I forget his name. We know that Vasudeva, who was Vasudeva's sister? Kunti, right? Because Kunti was the mother of Arjuna, and Vasudeva was the father of Krishna, so they were cousins, first cousins. But Vasudeva had a brother, and Uddhava was his son. So they're cousins too, just like Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna and Uddhava. I just read it today. I didn't know it either. So, but who's more dear to Krishna, Uddhava or Arjuna? It is said many places that outside of Vrindavan, the person most intimately knowing Krishna and related to Krishna is Uddhava. It's said many ways in many places. He's a very special person. So Krishna was in Mathura, knowing. You can read about it if you want. It's in Canto 10, Chapter 46, the first purport. At least Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. Krishna is contemplating in Mathura. I know how much feelings of separation the residents of Mathura are having from, the residents of Vrindavan are having from me. And listen, it's really nice. He's thinking, if I show my affection for the residents of Braja, then all the demons, because he killed Kamsa, is already dead now, but there's lots of other demons still on the planet. And when they come to know that I have affection for the residents of Braja, they'll go and harass the Brajvasis, and I couldn't bear that. So he couldn't go. So how can I relay my feelings to the residents of Vrindavan? Who is that person who's so qualified? And just at that time, Uddhava walked in. That's it. I mean, it's like we may undergo something like that. Krishna is just having a pastime of thinking, who's the right one to go. And Uddhava walks in. So then he makes this message for Uddhava to take to the residents of Vrindavan. It's all just pastime. So it gives Uddhava a chance to be Krishna's messenger, but it also gives Uddhava a chance to see how exalted is the love of the residents of Vrindavan. He who is most intimately connected with Krishna outside of Vrindavan is astounded by the love of the residents of Vrindavan, out of sight. And he's at the top of the mountain. And it's out of sight, like what's north of the North Pole. He wanted Uddhav to have that experience because it was inspiring him to hanker for the association of the residents of Vrindavan. And our hearing about the residents of Vrindavan is to make us also hanker about getting the association of the residents of Vrindavan. Although we're not qualified. We're like so unqualified, it's ridiculous. But hankering for is part of the bhakti process that the Bhagavatam is giving to us. We're unqualified. And still we're shameless. I mean, this is Rupa Goswami's writing in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I have no qualification. Let me list to you my disqualifications. Still I'm shameless. I want mercy. That's our position. We're followers of Rupa Goswami. And these merciful devotees are merciful. And the Bhagavatam is merciful. The Bhagavatam's like, here, please take it. And we're too busy or distracted or something. So it doesn't mean, stop your life and jump off the boat of life and do something different with your life. But the process, that's not what's recommended. Sthanes tatakshutikatam tanavan manobir. We stay in our position and we engage in our activities according to our nature, and we give substantial emphasis to hearing and chanting topics of Krishna. That's the Bhagavad Dharma. And that way our senses, our intelligence, our mind, our soul, our whole being become purified. And, as we take our families seriously, we take our careers seriously, we take coronavirus seriously, we should take, hearing and chanting seriously. And that's really life's mission, is to not dump the other stuff. But it's part of the process of reaching this goal that the Bhagavatam wants to take us to, and Lord Chaitanya wants to take us to. Very natural process, very sublime process, very powerful process. Okay, I'm going to end. Oh, we got to do this. We'll do it at the end of the questions. I'll show you the little video. You have to stick around, though. You can't leave. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Maharaj, I have total 6 questions.
Just yours? Oh, this is online people.
No, one is from my daughter.
Your daughter?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. I'm glad you put her first.
So yesterday night.
She's so sweet.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. She's probably a little mischievous when I'm not around, though. Go ahead.
She's actually inspired by your words, and she got up for Mangalarti today.
Okay.
And, just want to let you know.
And she chanted her 1 round too, right?
Yes. With all hard efforts.
Okay.
So her question was, in the morning she was asking, and today also my wife pinged me, is there a sky in the spiritual world?
Yes. There's everything. Is there? Okay, go ahead. Excuse me.
Sorry, Maharaj. So that gave me another question actually.
Okay.
Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, all those are external energies, 8 bhinna. So are they present in the spiritual world? That was my...
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not that... We just read. The spiritual counterpart is there in the spiritual world. This is a reflection of that.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Here's an apple tree. Here's a reflection of an apple tree in a lake. There's an apple. Is there an apple in the apple tree?
Yes.
Okay.
Got the answer. Can I go ahead? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. You got the microphone.
Okay. I was uh, I was very inquisitive for years together to understand that 14 planetary systems.
Okay, we're going to
So
show it shortly.
okay. So shall I hold that question?
Okay, you hold it.
Okay.
Go. What else?
Uh, the universal form has been displayed to many people and many times.
Not too many, but some. Yeah.
Yes. And when Lord Krishna goes as the peace messenger before the war,
Yes, I'm familiar.
uh, he also displays
Partial.
partial. But is Duryodhan also able to see? Or
Yeah, he thinks, oh, he's a mystic, and so am I. So if I'm going to kill him.
he sees, but he
He
thinks,
sees. Well, what does he see? He doesn't see what everybody. We can see according to our sensory power. He's a demon, so he can see according to his sensory power, as we can see according to our sensory power. Mother Jasada saw what she saw. She was given power to see what she saw,
okay,
and we'll all see differently, isn't it? Same thing.
okay, Maharaj. The next one is as we know that while showing the whole universal form to Mother Yashoda, Krishna wanted to protect her rasa, right? He did
I'm
not
with
want
you.
to
Yes.
disturb their rasa.
Yes.
Now, I was just wondering, even in the case of Nanda Maharaj, when he was taken to Varuna Dev, and later everybody was talking about Krishna as a Supreme Lord.
Yes.
So, should I understand that some in the Vrindavan were having a mood to see in that form? Because Madhurya and Vatsalya was the only predominantly the moods of Vrindavan Vasis, right?
Yes. Now, I think you need to read the commentary because it's very important and it's very subtle.
Okay.
And if you don't read it carefully, you'll be confused, like you are right now. You know, in the material world, we see, but we do not see. Pashati na pashati. They saw, but they didn't see. And then, what's described is after he showed what they wanted to see, they forgot everything.
Okay.
Now, we had this discussion 3 times. This is the 4th time. Supposing we have some like peak experience in our devotional life, what happens afterwards? We get covered by Mahamaya. So the residents of Vrindavan, they have this very special experience, and then they forget it. Covered by Yogamaya. They forget it. Here's a really mind blower. Brihat Bhagavatamrita says this pastime of Krishna being taken by Akrura to Mathura happens again and again and again. And each time when he comes back, they forgot that he had gone. And then when he's taken, they forgot that he left. It happens again and again. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Now, it's like, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. But, there's prakat and aprakat lila. And so it happens again and again. It's a bhava that Krishna is engaging in relationships with his devotees so that they have this experience and then it becomes covered. And it's not just like they're having so much fun they forget. It's Yogamaya. We remember what Krishna lets us remember. We forget what Krishna helps us forget. And in the spiritual realm, it's a different kind of forgetfulness and a different kind of remembrance. Don't think of it like us. That's the material yardstick thing that doesn't help you understand. How can you understand? By hearing and by accepting that the Supreme Lord has unlimited and inconceivable potencies. And how wonderful is he, and how wonderful are his potencies. I mean, lifting Govardhan Hill. I was thinking about it this morning. How old is your daughter? 6 years. So how old was Krishna when he lifted Govardhan Hill? 7. So how can he lift Govardhan Hill when he's 7? He's so short. And everyone got underneath. They're tall. No, it's just defying logic. So our acharyas say he stood on a mound. He's intelligent. You're short. You got to hold people under a hill. You stand on a mound. Next time you see your daughter, think about it. You're going to underneath the hill that she's holding up. Go ahead.
The next one is Maharaj. Okay, I want to hear once again. You have been telling many times, but for the others as well, the wings which we are talking about.
The which?
Wings. In the beginning, you were asking, knowing about the wings of. Maharaj, you were saying something. I couldn't get that at that time.
But I don't know what the word is. Wings? Like?
Yeah, kind of. You were saying something. So
About wings? I was? What was I saying about wings? You're hearing things.
sorry. The last one is.
He's funny tonight.
The last one is.
I don't know what the online people are going to think of you. These are all your friends, and that's nice, but who's this fellow? Go ahead.
Just the last one is ropes of winds.
Wind. I spoke about wind, yeah.
Winds.
Ropes of wind. Okay, yeah, I did. You want to hear some more about it? Okay. That's different than wings. Okay, there's a diagram. Here's the pole star, and here's planets in different vertical positions. Some are up, some are in between, some are down, and all of them, Bhuvar and Svargaloka planets, when you look up into the sky and you see the stars at night, you can see them moving slowly. And they're moving in a counterclockwise direction, pivoting around Dhruvaloka. So, 5th canto says there's ropes of air. And the Vishnu Purana says it too. And it may also be in Mahabharata. There's ropes of air from Dhruva's planet to each planet, connecting Dhruva, Loka. And then those ropes of air are moved by a wind. I can look up the word if you want. The ropes of air move by a wind, and the wind blows the ropes of air, and it helps the planets move. Now, Dhruva, Loka, is also rotating, so as it rotates, the ropes are rotating and the wind is rotating, so it keeps the planets moving in this counterclockwise direction. And it's important, the sun is moving in a, anyway, I'll go into the cosmology. You have something? Okay. So does that answer your question? Ropes of air. Wind, not wings. Okay. Any more questions? I think we'll do the cosmology show. Okay, go ahead. We'll do the questions first.
um, Being a friend with Krishna is more, is better, or being a devotee to the Krishna is better?
Well, a friend is also a devotee. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Krishna says to Arjuna, "You're my devotee and my friend." So how can you be a friend without being a devotee of Krishna? They're ones within the other. They go together. It's a stage of bhakti, a stage of devotion to become Krishna's friend. Faster way is to become humble. Anything else in the room? Anyone? Yes? Okay. This is for the online people, so we can hear you, but they can't.
What is the ultimate reason for preparation of Bhagavatam?
Ultimate reason for the preparation of Bhagavatam?
Yes.
Why was it presented? Fantastic. That's what we spoke about for the Sunday lecture yesterday. Yeah. In fact, your question is one of the questions that the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta. Good question. And the answer is two parts. First part is Vyasa had the capacity of Trikalagya. He could see past, present, and future. Yes? Trikala Gya. He could see past, present, future. And he looked into the future and it was, yikes, Kali Yuga is going to look like this. It's really terrible. What can I do? I'm a sage. He's thinking he wants to do something. So the something that he wanted to do was take the Vedas and make them more accessible to people in the age of Kali. So he put them in written form because people have bad memories. And he took them and divided them into different divisions. As one Veda became 4 Vedas. And then some literature that explained the 4 Vedas. And then a summary of all of that in Vedanta Sutra. And then Narada came along, his spiritual master is Narada Muni, said, Vyas, you don't look so good. What happened? I said, well, I'm feeling despondent because I did all this work for everybody, but I'm feeling something's missing. He said, well, that's because you didn't sufficiently glorify the personality of Godhead. So here's an instruction for you, Vyas. 2 things. Sit in trance, complete samadhi, and whatever you realize, expand this Bhagavad Purana in one literature that all it does is speak about the personality of Godhead. So that's what he did. And that's how Srimad Bhagavatam came into being. Along with the 4 Vedas and the supplementary literature for the Shrutis and the Smritis, the supplementary literature, the Smritis, Srimad Bhagavatam is to take all of that knowledge and take it to the level of glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because He's the goal of all that knowledge. It's the ripened fruit of the desired tree of the Vedas. The Vedas are compared to a desire tree, kalpa vriksha, desire tree. So you go to a desire tree and wish for anything, not just apples and pears and bananas. You ask for anything, and desire tree will supply it. So there's yagyas, there are procedures of sacrifice to get whatever the necessities of human society is from the Vedas. Desire tree. And the ripened fruit is Srimad Bhagavatam. And that was missing. And Narada instructed him, that's what's missing, here's how you do it. And he did it. So that's Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigamakalpatarar galitam palam idam. It's the ripened fruit of the tree of the Vedas. Okay? One more.
Why this material world created by God?
That's a good question. Keeping it simple because of time, two main reasons. House of detention and house of correction. Living entities desired to enjoy separately from Krishna. It's not possible. So a world of illusion is created so they can try to enjoy independently from Krishna, although it can't happen. So there's rebellious, it's like a prison. What are prisons created for? Because there are people that are rebellious, and they're going to run around disturbed by everybody that's a law-abiding citizen unless they're given, but you don't put them out of existence, you give them a place to live. A prison. And they got rules. You know, break the rules and you're in more trouble than the rest of the prisoners. But it's actually meant for correction. House of detention, house of correction. That's why. And so when you make wrong choices, you have to take the consequences for those wrong choices. That's this material world. The consequences. Place. And it's meant to teach us, don't make wrong choices. There's lots of teachings, lots of assistance, lots of support, lots of reminders, some good examples. Take shelter of all of that, and you don't need the material world anymore. Purnar Janma Na.
Two online questions. Maharaj. This is from Shashireka Mataji. In material world, body is made of earth, water, etc. In the spiritual world, what is the body made of? Does everyone's body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha?
Yes, correct.
From Giri Prabhu.
From?
Giri.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Is there a way to find our natural swabhava?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if it didn't get it through, do it again. Yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
Two questions. Satish Bhatnagar Prabhu. Some Puranas have a reference to Srimad Bhagavatam, but we know Srimad Bhagavatam was written last. How do we understand this? Also, Vyasadeva knew Srimad Bhagavatam needed to be written, I think. So why was he bewildered?
Well, it's our really clever answer says it's a Leela. He was performing a service, although he's an incarnation of Krishna, he was performing a service unto Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. That's what incarnations do. And it was to assist in the Leela of providing this perfected version of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam it's not a creative writing spree. It's an eternal sound vibration made manifest by Vyas. So the other Puranas know of that, and Vyas didn't compile it till later, but they know of that eternal sound vibration, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Purana. So I'm going to go to this video, hopefully. Get your machine set up over here. Oh, where is it? Oh. I just saw it earlier. Gosh, where is it? Okay. I just have to remember where I put it. Oh, maybe it's over here. Ah, there it is. Okay. Where's your cable? Let me scan my cable. Can you bring it up? Connected to something?
It's connected to the Amazon, but is there a way to connect? So you can Wi-Fi, we can connect. That's what he said.
I don't know how to do that.
He can help it out.
Where's the chandelier?
Unplug the Amazon and plug it here.
So the bottom of the front display, we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesha, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the four Kumaris. And above, the seven subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudvip, the central island of Pumandala, and Bharadwajas right on the southern side of that. 8 other varshas, with Ilamata Varsha in the center. Various supporting mountains, large trees upon the described in Srimad Bhagavatam. The very center of Ilamata Varsha is Mount Med.
If you can connect the cable to this machine, I know how to do it. Other than Wi-Fi.
HDMI cable. HDMI cable is not here, so they have it just down.
Just 2 minutes, Maharaj. Okay, I'm getting to my phone.
I'm very patient.
Thank you.
I'm a hard Christian. I'm very patient. Let's just do this while we're waiting, because you can hear the narrative.
No, she's getting. Yeah.
So at the bottom of the planetary display, we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesh, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the four Kumaras, and above the 7 subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudvip, the central island of Bhumandala, and Bharadvaja is situated on the southern side of that. 8 other Varshas, with Ilaka and Varsha in the center. Various supporting mountains with large trees upon them described in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the very center of Ilaka and Varsha is Mount Meru, Golden Mountain. Atop Mount Meru are the cities of important demigods, Lord Brahma in the center, 8 Dikpalas in the cardinal directions and sub-directions. Moving out, we can see the broader Blue Mandala, 7 concentric islands and oceans surrounding them. The 7th of these islands is Pushkar. On that island, Manaswatra Mountain. On the mountain there's various cities and demigods such as Indra. Kapurla is Aloka Mountain. Large elephants stand on top of the mountain and balance. Outside of Aloka Mountain there's Aloka Varsha. The rays of the sun and the other luminaries extend up to Aloka. On Manaswatra Mountain, the sun travels above this mountain at the southernmost point of its annual orbit. Above the mandala is Dwararoka, which is the Charanas, Siddhas, Yakshas, Gandharvas. And above there is Swargaloka, beginning from the sun and extending up to the pole star Dhruva. This is the moving part of the planetary display. Here you can see the sun and the moon moving in their chariots. The chariots being drawn by horses, moving in the anti-clockwise direction. But they're traveling at wheel of time, moving in the clockwise direction past them. So it looks as if they're moving backwards. Above them, zodiac of stars, 4 planets, and another room of stars. Here we can see everything moving with the Kala Chakra, circumambulating the axis that connects Mount Meru with Dhruvaroka. Above these planets, we come to the planet of the 7 sages, the Saptarshi. You can see them here, they're commonly known as the Big Dipper, and then Dhruvaloka. So at the bottom of the planetary display, we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesh, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras, and above the 7 subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudvip, the central island of Bhumandala, and Bharadvaja is situated on the southern side of that. 8 other Varshas, with Ilavrita Varsha in the center. Various supporting mountains with large trees upon them, described in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the very center of Ilavrita Varsha is Mount Meru, Golden Mountain. Atop Mount Meru are the cities of important demigods, Lord Brahma in the center, the 8 Dikpalas in the cardinal directions and sub-directions. Moving out, we can see the broader Bhumandala, 7 concentric islands and oceans surrounding them. seventh of these islands is Pushkaradweep. On that island is Manasotra mountain. On the mountain there's various cities of demigods such as Indra. Out further is Loka Loka mountain. These large elephants stand atop Loka Loka mountain to balance Bhumandala. Outside of Loka Loka mountain is Aloka Varsha, which is dark. The rays of the sun and the other luminaries extend up to Loka Loka mountain. On Manasotra mountain here on Pushkaradweep, the sun travels above this mountain at the southernmost point of its annual orbit. Above Bhumandala is Bhuvarloka, which is the residence of the Charanas, Siddhas, Yakshas, Gandharvas, and above there is Swargaloka, beginning from the sun and extending up to the pole star Dhruvaloka. This is the moving part of the planetary display. Here we can see the sun and the moon moving in their chariots. The chariots are being drawn by horses moving in the anti-clockwise direction, but they're traveling with the wheel of time moving in the clockwise direction faster, so it looks as if they're moving backwards. Above them are the zodiac of stars, more planets, and another realm of stars. So here we can see everything moving with the Kala Chakra, circumambulating the axis that connects Mount Meru with Dhruvaloka. Above these planets, we come to the planet of the seven sages, the Saptarshi. You can see them here, they're commonly known as the Big Dipper, and then the Dhruvaloka, the pole star. On the ocean of milk situated there, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma within everyone's heart, he resides on Anantashesh. Moving up beyond there, we have Mahaloka, Jalaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. In this video, we haven't included many of the details for there, but on Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, we have residences of the Lord, such as Lord Varaha, Lord Vamana, and so on. Here's Brahmaloka, and on Brahmaloka, we also have a form of the Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu as the Sahasrashesha Purush. Beyond there is the seven coverings of the universe, earth, water, fire, etc. And outside of the universe is the abode of Lord Shiva, Shiva Loka. There he resides eternally. Beyond Shiva Loka, we come to Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, with innumerable universes that have emanated from the pores of his transcendental body. Here you can see him being served by Rama Devi. Then we come to the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord's transcendental body. Penetrating through the Brahmajyoti, we come to the Vaikuntha planets. We're showing 24 planets of the Vaikuntha realm in this model. The Lord with four arms is holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus, and the various combinations of those four make 24. Then we come to Goloka Vrindavan. Here we can see Radha Madhava, but we'll also be showing the other primary rasas. Krishna with the cowherd boys, Krishna being served, Krishna with Mother Yashoda. So this is an overview of the planetary display to be shown in the main dome of the temple.
Only one part of it is moving, but it's all three-dimensional. Showing the structure. Who created the voice? Well, it's graphic artists created it, but the voice is Antarvik Prabhu, who has taken the responsibility of overseeing the entire project. And there's like 16 different departments that are part of the project, and he's oversees the whole thing. The planetary display is part of the POVP. Then there's going to be exhibits that explain so many things. It's not only to explain the planetary display, but they'll explain, the plus this is not making, this video is not making an attempt to make any comparison to what modern science says. It's just, this is what fifth canto Vedic cosmology says. But some of the displays will say, modern science says this, and here's our response to what modern science says. And this is just giving Vedic cosmology. It's pretty good.
So at the bottom of the planetary display, we have Shesha holding up the earth. This is Shesh, the empowered incarnation. There we have Ananta speaking Bhagavatam to the four Kumaras, and above the 7 subterranean planets. Here we can see Jambudvip, the central island of Bhumandala, and Bharatvarsha is situated on the southern side of that. 8 other Varshas with Ilavrita Varsha in the center, various supporting mountains with large trees upon them, described in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the very center of Ilavrita Varsha is Mount Meru, Golden Mountain. Atop Mount Meru are the cities of important demigods, Lord Brahma in the center, 8 Dikpalas in the cardinal directions and sub-directions. Moving out, we can see the broader Bhumandala, 7 concentric islands and oceans surrounding them. The 7th of these islands is Pushkaradweep. On that island is Manasotra mountain. On the mountain there is various cities of demigods such as Indra. Out further is Loka mountain. These large elephants stand atop Loka mountain to balance Bhumandala. Outside of Loka mountain is Aloka Varsha, which is dark. The rays of the sun and the other luminaries extend up to Loka mountain. On Manasotra mountain here on Pushkaradweep, the sun travels above this mountain at the southernmost point of its annual orbit. Above Bhumandala is Bhuvarloka, which is the residence of the Charanas, Siddhas, Yakshas, Gandharvas, and above there is Swargaloka, beginning from the sun and extending up to the pole star Dhruvaloka. This is the moving part of the planetary display. Here we can see the sun and the moon moving in their chariots. The chariots are being drawn by horses moving in the anti-clockwise direction, but they're traveling with the wheel of time moving in the clockwise direction faster, so it looks as if they're moving backwards. Above them are the zodiac of stars, more planets, and another realm of stars. So here we can see everything moving with the Kala Chakra, circumambulating the axis that connects Mount Meru with Dhruvaloka. Above these planets, we come to the planet of the 7 sages, the Saptarshi. You can see them here, they're commonly known as the Big Dipper, and then Dhruvaloka, the pole star. On the ocean of milk situated there, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma within everyone's heart, he resides on Anantashesh. Moving up beyond there, we have Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. In this video, we haven't included many of the details for there, but on Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, we have residences of the Lord, such as Lord Varaha, Lord Vamana, and so on. Here's Brahmaloka, and on Brahmaloka, we also have a form of the Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu as the Sahasrashesha Purush. Beyond there is the 7 coverings of the universe, earth, water, fire, etc. And outside of the universes is the abode of Lord Shiva, Shiva Loka. There he resides eternally. Beyond Shiva Loka, we come to Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, with innumerable universes that have emanated from the pores of his transcendental body. Here you can see him being served by Rama Devi. Then we come to the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord's transcendental body. Penetrating through the Brahmajyoti, we come to the Vaikuntha planets. We're showing 24 planets of the Vaikuntha realm in this model. The Lord with four arms is holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus, and the various combinations of those four make 24. Then we come to Goloka Vrindavan. Here we can see Radha Madhava, but we'll also be showing the other primary rasas. Krishna with the cowherd boys, Krishna being served, Krishna with Mother Yashoda. So this is an overview of the planetary display to be shown in the main dome of the temple.
Horses which were going this side and this side. What?
There were many things, not only sun moon.
Yeah, actually, horses. Actually, horses were going.
I hear you. You have to say that again. Why there's so many chariots, I don't know. But if the sun, God, moves on a chariot in an anti-clockwise or counterclockwise direction, so there's a counterclockwise direction. You're looking at it from the top down. You're moving on the counterclockwise direction. But the wheel of time, moving in a clockwise direction faster, so it looks like it's going backwards.
Yes,
He's going forward. So in the wheel of time, in the course of 1 year, he completes once around the wheel of time. That's 1 year. 1 solar year. But the wheel of time is moving very quickly.
So one solar year and our year.
Ours is a solar year. I mean, the Western people go by the solar year. And then there's a lunar year, lunar calendar. I don't want to go into it. It's too complicated. It's like somebody asked me yesterday was a Kadasi. The day before yesterday was a Kadasi. We were not fasting on a Kadasi because it's not suitable for fasting. But we fasted instead on the Dwadasi day, right? Right. So what's the reason? Because the solar calendar moved to 27 nakshatras. Nakshatras is a smaller constellation in the zodiac 12. So the moon moves through those nakshatras, and the lunar day may be less than a solar day, rising and setting of the sun. And so and I don't know what the rule is, but when it's something, it's not a suitable day for fasting, so it goes to the next day. I don't know what the rule is. That's what we have. So it's a little complicated. You don't have to unravel the complicated.